Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Underneath the Hood. I'm Dave Martin, the owner of Martin's Auto Repair in Central Phoenix.
I'm Glen Hayward, the proud owner of Goodworks Auto Repair in sunny Tempe, Arizona.
And I'm Lee Weatherby with Accurate Automotive in the heart of Mesa.
And together, we represent 140 years of combined automotive experience.
Our goal is to change the perception of our auto repair industry by going behind the scenes and underneath the hood.
And we hope to share with you what it's like to own a small business and give you a perspective from an insider's point of view.
So let's get started. So, guys, I want to know if this is a myth or this is true and why. Only buy or fill up your vehicle in the early morning when the ground temperature is still cold.
Fact.
Okay?
It's a fact, but it can be a myth too because it never gets under 100 degrees here. And I don't know if the ground is much help.
Well, really the concept behind that, Dave, is simply that, when things cool down, you know what I mean, you get rid of all the vapors and everything else, so you're getting a more pure product, you know what I mean, that is coming in to your tank instead of getting it mixed with any what we would call contaminants, air being a contaminant, you know what I mean, and the such. So
right, the gas is more compressed. In other words, you're getting more liquid and less air.
Yeah.
So number 2, guys, myth or true? You should pump your gas on low mode.
It's a fact.
It is a fact.
Yeah.
And it's a wise one too.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
Well, the reason why is when you're pumping the gas really fast, it aerates more.
There you go.
So you're getting more bubbles in the tank, and then it'll shut off, and you may not have a full tank of gas. And those little aerations, I've noticed even if you leave your car running while you're filling it up, the motor starts to surge, and sometimes you'll take off, and it kind of jerks a little bit because some of that air is actually still in the fuel pump and in the fuel system.
I'm going to say I wouldn't recommend leaving your car running, but...
Well, I'm just saying. But when it's 115 degrees, a lot of times you leave your car running while you're pumping the gas. But there are some symptoms that say, hey, something isn't quite right here. And once all the bubbles settle out, then the car runs normally.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, and Glenn, you're so absolutely correct, because anytime you're stirring things up, you know what I mean, you're getting that contamination or the impurity that we're talking about.
We all came from the gas station, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So we know,
That's kind of our background, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the more pure, you know what I mean, that you can allow that stuff to flow, which low speed is really what does it. You know what I mean? Of course, everybody's in a hurry, so what do? They click the thing on 1, 2, 3, bam, let's get that going.
I'm in a hurry. Instead of the extra 60 seconds it might take to pump your gas, they're,
and they can actually help themselves to
problem.
Save money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right at the pump right there. Just take that, I call it be in the moment. Take the time to do what you're doing and do it right the first time.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So.
Well, I got another one for you guys. Fill your tank whenever it drops below a half a tank.
I would say that is a fact, but I've always heard it where I try to tell my people, in fact, my wife is one of my people. Babe, don't let your car don't let your car go all the way.
She should be the most important of all your people.
Well, she is absolutely.
We love Kelly.
You're spot on. Thank you.
But she
I do
doesn't always listen like the other clients.
Amen. No, the key to it is once again, it's about that aeration, but there's also an added benefit. You know what I mean to filling your car when it gets to half, and that is just from a perspective of the fuel pump. Think about it. Most of the fuel pumps nowadays are in the tanks.
Yep.
And you know what? The gasoline
like
in the
100%.
tank actually acts as a cooling agent.
It's an insulator. Right? Insulates the pump.
Absolutely. And it keeps it cool. So you know what? Here again, just logic, you know what I mean? You keep that thing cooler, you have more longevity.
And let me just add real quick, a fuel pump these days can cost between $700 and $2,000
They're
$2,000
They're
to
horrendous.
replace. So if you can keep yours from never failing, you just saved a whole bunch of money.
You bet. And you know what? Anything you can do, and you're so apropos, you're so right on that, Glenn.
Usually am. But, I try not to be overbearingly right.
All the time.
And so humble.
Yeah. That's what his wife says all the time.
Listen,
he's always right.
The three of us here are more than the Three Stooges. I mean, we've been in this industry for a long time. We got 140
Which one are you,
years.
Mo, Curly?
I'm Mo. I'm a victim of circumstance. What are you going to do?
So, guys, the next one here is, if you see a tanker truck at a gas station, should you keep going, or should you stop and get gas?
The perception would be that it's fresh gas. I want the fresh stuff. I don't want something that's sitting in an old tank for a long time. But, Lee?
Misleading perception. No, you should definitely not stop and get gas. Once again, following all the protocols, what happens is those tankers are in a hurry, just like the rest of us. You know what I mean? They've got a job to do. And they are literally pushing that gas down into the tanks that are submerged and isolated. And what happens is they're pushing it as fast as they possibly can. They've got it on high speed. And they're stirring up all the sediment that's in the bottom of that tank. So unfortunately, those contaminants that we've been talking about, now these are actually real sediments, all right, as well as all the air and the vapors and everything else, they just get saturated. If possible, you know what I mean? It's usually best to wait, don't fill up if the tanker truck's there.
Well, and another thing that's really important about that is that for about the last 20 years, car manufacturers are no longer putting an external fuel filter on the vehicle.
Correct.
So now you got just this dinky little filter sitting, a little sock on the end of your fuel pump in your tank.
Part of the fuel module.
And it can only take so much, and then the pump can't work the way it's supposed to work and flow gas. It starts to plug up, it overheats the pump, and you end up putting a fuel pump in, which can be a very expensive proposition, up to $2,000, depending on the make and model of your car.
We just talked about that a minute ago.
Many cars now have two fuel pumps. They got they're
right and left.
Yeah, right and the left, because one is pushing fuel from one tank to the other to keep the two ends level, and so you'll end up replacing the whole thing.
And being that we all kind of came from the same background with the gas station part of it, you know, the older the tanks are, the more sediments in them.
Oh, you bet.
You bet. So what you guys are saying
I get really sentimental about that.
You definitely are sentimental.
No, sentimental. There's a difference.
So, you know, and to your point, though, guys, to your point is what you should do is maybe wait a half an hour, right?
You know what? A half hour is usually a good call. Give it as much time as you possibly can.
Right, and just let that stuff settle back down, and it'll settle down fairly quick, I think. But like you said, it does stir up a lot of stuff, and then it starts to get in the lines, and then it gets
I've heard
into your
Lee
tank
likes to stir up a lot of stuff too, but you know.
Guys, so how about gas prices are usually cheaper on Monday and Tuesdays?
Absolutely true.
It is true, but I've never really taken much thought about it. You know, I mean, if you need gas, you need gas, but if you can get it at the beginning of the week, it becomes increasingly more expensive during the course of a week. I don't get that.
Well, you know what happens is, I mean, and here again, I'm not going to profess that I know everything either, but usually at the beginning of the week, all right, they have stabilized on the price, you know what I mean, and they've just gone through a long weekend. But as the weekend is starting to approach, they're starting to do projections as to how much travel will be going on, things of that nature. And you can always usually see Wednesdays are usually the day when they start to raise the price.
It's kind of funny because you know what? After the weekend's over, a lot of people pull in Monday and they go to get gas and they look at the prices. And then people don't really pay attention to the rest of the prices the rest of the week.
That's right.
And you're right, absolutely. It definitely makes sense because it does happen.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? For the gas industry, it makes dollars and cents.
Yeah.
It does. It's kind of a rip-off, but you know.
The best thing is, though, we can be in control and we can put those cents back in our pocket. Because, I mean, as all these little things that you're bringing up, by the way, great topic, Dave. But all these little things that you're bringing up, I mean, you guys, they add up to a bunch. I think
pennies add up to dollars.
Pennies add up to dollars.
And this is back to the gas station mentality. You know, we were making pennies on a gallon. You know, you make 2-3 cents on a gallon. And you know what? My dad I was one of those guys that would, if he saw a penny on the ground, he'd pick it up and put it in his pocket.
I still do.
Yeah, and because pennies turned into dollars. And they understood that. How many people walk by and see a penny on the ground and just keep walking? They don't even pay attention to that. But when you're used to making pennies on a dollar, you look at that a whole different way.
Yeah, you do really do.
It's interesting. We've had some people leave their cars here, like they abandoned them, and you go through and you start pulling all the junk out of there. And I picked $7.80 out of someone's car under the seats. It's crazy. It's in the glove box. It's in the doors. It's like.
It's cushion cash,
and
man.
But what's interesting is they went to the car and took all their stuff out, and they left all their spare change in there. It's like, this is $7.50. I mean, it's not a king's ransom, but
it adds up.
It
I
does.
Mean, it really does.
I got a quart jar in my dresser drawer, and that all comes from spare change that I pull out of cars that get abandoned here. And, you know, I fill it up like 3 or 4 times a year. It's like $50, $60 worth of change.
I got that too, but my granddaughter's been robbing me.
Yeah.
Grandkids are great for that, I think.
My 3-year-old granddaughter is now into change.
I don't want to get too far off topic, but I'll share a story with you one of these days about, penny jars.
All right, so let's go with this one. This is a good one. Keep your tires inflated.
Oh, this is the absolute biggest no-brainer on the planet.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is that is an absolute truth. Here's the reality. Tires. And I hope one day we get to talk about tires, all right, and the proper way to maintain them and take care of them. But here's the thing. Just by simply putting in the proper amount of air, all right, it's funny how a tire raises and flattens, raises and flattens. The more surface that's on the ground, the more drag.
Right.
The less surface is on the ground, the less drag.
That's a drag,
A
dude.
tire, that is a drag.
What a drag.
If a tire is properly inflated, it'll be the right amount of surface, you know what I mean, to contact, and it will allow for the greatest amount, all right, of miles per gallon.
Yeah, less friction.
You bet. And the thing of it is, less wear and tear on not only the tire, but also the vehicle. And just like you're talking about, that guy that's going back and forth and passing you,
Yeah.
you know what? You're going to save $8 to $10, which these are the pennies from heaven that you're talking about,
Yeah.
at the gas station compared to that guy.
So, and you want to find out if that's true or not, what you do is you go out there and you lower all the tire pressure and
try to
all your
push your
vehicles
car.
and try pushing your car.
Yeah.
I guarantee you will find out that we are 100% right because we've all pushed that car with low tires.
Oh my
And boy,
God.
does that suck.
More times than I want to count. for sure.
We've all done it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Right.
we've had some cars that have been sitting for a long period of time. They get dropped with a tow truck, and and of course my guys don't want to go get the air tank, and then run out, so they start to push it, and I'm just shaking my head, going, "You guys are gonna have some fun."
Yeah.
And it takes 4 guys when it normally could take 2.
Right.
But I mean, the car just ain't rolling. It
Right.
just sucks, So, all right, guys, this is a good one here. Remove excess weight. Now, I'm going to preface this because I know how you guys think. You cannot tell your spouse to lose weight. You cannot throw your spouse out of the car. What you have to do is we have to figure out another way to get the weight out of the car.
You know what? Here, and you're right, and I would never tell that to my spouse.
You've been married a long time, haven't you?
Yeah, 40 years.
Yes,
But
you'll be carrying a big toolbox or your golf clubs
Well,
or, I mean, anything that has
any non-essentials.
Yeah,
I mean, let's
non-essentials, if you
face it,
don't- yeah.
any non-essentials, and these are the things that, we put in the car and we think, oh, just the boxes or, the golf clubs and things like that. Listen, specifically, take the things you need to go do the things you're going to do. But if you're not utilizing them, during that day, take them out of the car, store them in your garage or in your home or in a cabinet, whatever the case may be. But the car's a tool, all right? Use your tool and keep it at its most proficient, by literally lightening the load. Think about us. If we take a few pounds off, we feel a little better, we move a little easier,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? We stay a little cooler. Same thing happens, with the car, and it really adds up to gas mileage.
It's back to the drag.
Back to the
There you
drag.
go.
That's exactly.
Back to the drag. The more drag you have, the more gas you're going to use. It's just that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right. Keep your engine properly tuned.
No question about it. This goes back to really routine maintenance, you guys, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, preventative
I agree.
maintenance and routine maintenance is absolutely, it's the essential key. And here's the thing. Guys, we're all in the automotive business. What is the number one thing that we sell? It's oil changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thing of it is, people nowadays will come in and say, I want to tune up on my car. Well, do they mean an oil change? Do they mean they
Absolutely,
want
yeah,
spark
tune-up is
plugs? Do they mean
vague,
they want,
yeah, vague.
But here's the thing. If you'll do the basics, you know what I mean, to keep it tuned, all right, clean air filters, make sure you got fresh oil, make sure that it's, you have proper fluids, the tires, like I say, are inflated well. Guess what? Your fuel economy is going to be ideal, at least up to what the manufacturer specifications or capabilities are.
Right, and tuned, I mean, people used to, back in the day, it was spark plugs, wires, distributor cap, and contact points.
That's what we
you
called
know.
it back then.
But now your spark plugs last 100,000 miles, but there are so many components, electronic and mechanical components that didn't exist on cars when we were younger,
You bet.
that can, get out of sync with each other. The check engine light comes on, the car still seems to run pretty good, but you notice that you're putting gas in more frequently, those sensors and stuff like that on the camshafts and all the other stuff. And I'm not going to get real technical because some of you may not understand what we're talking. We're talking a foreign language here. But those components, when your check engine light comes on, it's usually due to something that's making the car run less efficiently than it should.
And I will tell you what, all these little things we're talking about is basically paying attention and allowing it to pay you back. You know what I mean? Because if we pay attention to our car, I mean, listen, the little sputters, the little, misfires, or, we accelerate real
Or the
heavy.
check engine light comes on and we ignore it. Yeah,
That's
you're right.
right.
It's
Especially
absolutely.
when it's flashing, there's
Yeah.
something really wrong.
Absolutely.
you know.
And like you say, Glenn, I really think you've hit something there where, it is a foreign
I
language.
tried not to hit it, but
Yeah.
it ran right in front of me.
It is a foreign language sometimes to folks that don't necessarily know what's going on. And of course, anything that's foreign is a little bit unfamiliar, and change is hard, you know what I mean? And so we need to help educate and understand. Get it right in, you know what I mean? 'Cause
Absolutely.
A lot of times, things that are tiny, I mean,
An ounce of
listen,
prevention is worth
little-
a pound of cure. I think Ben
Amen.
Franklin or
Amen.
some wise guy
Wow.
like that
Wow.
said that once.
And that fit really well right there, Glenn.
Well, and I think the moral of that story is that the routine maintenance is the most important part, because
No
you bring
question.
it into a shop that has the capabilities of doing everything on your vehicle. They can do the maintenance, because there's shops out there that just do maintenance.
You
They
bet.
don't do anything else. And so when we're looking over your car, it's a whole different ballgame, because we're looking over your car. We're trying to get you the most cost-effective miles possible.
You bet.
So,
You bet.
all right, guys, this is a kind of a no-brainer, because it's kind of what we had talked about
Is
a
that
little bit
why
earlier.
you're doing it?
Wow. Holy smokes. Wow. Shots fired. Shots fired.
Sorry, I have a sick sense of humor, but it's pretty good.
You are
pretty
a
damn
sick
good.
sense
Okay.
of humor. Use cruise control
Cruise control.
to save on fuel.
Absolutely.
I thought that's when the cops were out there, like guys are out cruising and they're there to do the cruise control. That's not what you're talking about.
It's so funny because
Well, it's back to the thing we talked about earlier. It's a guy that flies by you at the stoplight,
Yeah.
stops, flies by you. When you're using cruise control, you're staying at a steady speed. You're not on and off the accelerator all the time. You know what I mean?
consistency counts.
Consistency definitely counts.
You know,
Absolutely.
You know, the cool thing about most cars now is they have like this gauge, this meter that goes up and down to tell you how many miles per gallon you're getting by the second.
Yeah.
And, if you can watch that thing a little bit, not let it distract you and you rear end somebody, but if you're paying attention to that thing, you can do things with your gas pedal to make that thing maximize its efficiency for sure.
And see, the thing of it is, the less things we do with the gas pedal, i.e. cruise control, you know what I mean, the more gas mileage we'll get. It's so funny because my son-in-law, he literally, when he takes my truck, we'll be going to California. Man, I get in, I go, and, self-admittedly, I travel probably a tad or a skosh above the speed limit, right? And I'm just going, but I'm on the gas, you know what I mean? And I'm doing this, and I'm trying to stay as close to the guy in front of me in the fast lane as I can. And you know what? He just gets in, sets the cruise control, and we just drive. You know what? I get, 13.9 miles to the gallon. He gets 16.4. Same truck, same vehicle, but you know what? And we got there literally just about the same time, you know what I mean? And yet he is so much more effective in preserving, the fuel and the vehicle. I
And
should
it's the way you
take a
drive.
cue.
They call them jackrabbit takeoffs, where you're practically squealing your tires, or you are when you take off from a stoplight and you're trying to beat the old 60 Ford pickup truck next to you or something. I mean, what do you have to gain? You're going to get to the next red light faster than he is.
What was that? It was that story like David was talking about, the
But
turtle
that
in the
can-
hair.
Yeah, the turtle in air. Yep.
You
Steady
can
is
literally
good.
cut your fuel economy by a third
Yeah.
if you're jackrabbit driving all
Isn't
the time.
isn't that when you get older, you start to realize that steady is better than fast?
I-
Because that's the only way
And,
you can
and
do
you
it.
go and you go through
That's the
more.
only way you can do it.
right.
If you try to go too fast, you're
and
going to break something.
you'll burn through more tires as
Oh,
well.
no question. Well, I think we look at everything just a little bit with
Tires
a little
are-
bit more clarity.
Tires on
Yeah.
sporty cars now are
As we get more
$200-300 bucks a
experience.
piece. So
No question.
we're not even talking about fuel economy. We're talking about just abuse and having to replace things on your car more frequently than if you drove the car more conservatively.
But you mentioned something there, abuse. We don't think of any of these things as abuse. And yet we also have an expectation that, boy, we'd sure like to get, because the manufacturers come out with an expectation,
Yeah.
27 to 34 miles to the gallon. Well, why such a varied range? And it's all literally these little tricks and tips right now. The more we abuse, the less we get. The more we maintain and stay focused consistently, the higher we get.
Optimal, they call it optimal driving.
Habits.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and it is optimal. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And once again, to your point, it does preserve our vehicles in general. I mean, you want to talk, we're only talking about fuel costs right now, but maintenance cost goes down, overall, vehicle
Wear and tear.
enhancement, wear and
Yeah.
tear.
You're stomping
You bet.
your pedal to the ground all the time. You're wearing out your transmission clutches and you're wearing out your tires.
You
You're
bet.
going to have to stop faster, so you're going to wear out your brakes sooner. And you're putting, stress on components that normally wouldn't be stressed except the way you drive it.
And
Yeah.
and you said something about the manufacturer. They have their
Ranges.
their ranges, and
Mhm.
and it's all about optimal driving experience.
You bet.
Conditions. Optimal driving conditions is the word I was looking for.
I think they realize that,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
all different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And-
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, in the insurance companies, they're trying to help you a little bit by letting you plug that little thing in there to tell you how bad you drive, so they can raise your rates later.
I got to tell you this. I don't think that's one of your questions, but never plug one of those damn things. Golly, those things are terrible.
Yeah, my wife tried that, and it didn't work so well.
Yeah.
His insurance got canceled.
My insurance got canceled. Not that bad, but wasn't good anyway. Okay, so let's move on here, guys. Drive. This is kind of a good one, because what we were told years ago and what today it's different, is driving with the AC on the highway versus driving with the windows down.
Oh, no, you drive with the AC on. I mean,
I don't think it's an option in Arizona.
Yeah.
But
No.
go ahead and explain why.
well, okay, so I mean, and this is just going to make absolute sense, okay? Wind shear is a real thing, you know what I mean? If you look at any of our, let's call it our excessive motorsports, NASCAR, anybody, they're taking these cars down to wind tunnels, you know what I mean? And looking at the drag that comes across the cars. Keep the windows up, less drag, and keep the air on and drive consistently. It's going to be way better mileage than if you roll the windows down, you know what I mean, and jam on the gas, because it's just that air drag that slows you down. Parachute effect, if you will.
Right.
Yeah.
And not only that, but I've even read, and there's proven science behind this, is if you keep your car washed and waxed, it has a lot less drag on it as you're going through, higher speeds especially. You're dragging, if there's less drag, you're going to get better fuel economy. Your car is gliding through the air a lot more.
Well, I think
I don't know the validity of that, but it sure sounds right.
But-
Because,
but-
like I say, less drag.
One
I've
thing
seen
you said,
scientific data on it.
Oh, I love
they-
it.
the-
Love it.
The manufacturers have spent so much money on the aerodynamics of the vehicle
Yeah.
to make them, hold them down to the road.
You bet.
Don't you remember years ago in the 70s and even the 80s, if you got going too fast, your car started kind of lifting up.
Yeah.
Now they're making them to where the just like NASCAR, and you brought up a really good analogy there, is because they want to keep the car on the road. They want to keep those tires contacted with the road.
You bet.
And so it's very important that and obviously when they're testing these cars, they don't have the windows down.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it makes all the difference in the world. All right, guys, let's move on to the next one here. Using regular gas, is it a waste of money?
Oh, absolutely not. You know what? Listen, there's no
You
advantage
mean
to
premium gas?
Yeah, there's no, well,
you mean that it is. You said that it's not.
no, listen, there's
Okay.
no advantage to using
There you go.
premium
Perfect.
gas.
Okay, perfect.
All right, in a car that it
Doesn't
calls for
require it.
regular gas.
Right, okay.
Now listen, if you have a vehicle that requires premium, that is the regular gas for that
Gotcha.
vehicle.
I get what you're saying.
All right,
Okay, all right.
but
Now I got you.
In a car that requires regular gas, 85, 87, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
octane, literally you don't get any benefit from putting 91 in that car. You see what I'm saying?
No,
it
perfect,
doesn't.
yeah.
It doesn't. It
I get what
doesn't
you're
get
saying.
you better gas mileage. It
No
doesn't
more
make it run better.
performance,
No more
yeah.
performance.
Nothing.
You only get to pay more at the pump. That's not an advantage.
So if you're into that
Well,
kind
if
of
that
thing,
makes you feel like a tycoon, then go for it. I run premium in my car.
Boy.
We're the hoity-toities.
well,
Woo.
you know what, guys?
You guys are good.
You have answered some really, really tough questions, guys, and I'm really proud of you guys. I'm really proud of you. You really guys got it together.
We
you
are
kinda know
tougher.
something.
We're gas
tougher.
monkeys.
Yeah,
You
we're
guys-
tougher
you guys
than
know
whale
something?
turds over here, man.
I had my expectations really low when we started this, but you know what? Look at you guys.
We have
Look at you
raised
guys.
the bar.
You guys are overachievers.
There you go.
I love it.
Wow.
Well, guys, hey, it's been another great episode, and I really enjoyed hanging out with you guys, and I'm looking forward to the next episode because you seem to have too much fun.
There we go. Well, I appreciate it,
That's
Dave.
what
Thank
it's
you
all
very
about.
much.
If
Glenn,
you can't
thanks.
have fun, get out of town.
There we go.
And if my wife finds out I'm having this much fun, she's not going to let me come anymore.
There you go.
Yeah, we won't tell her. Don't let her watch.
All right, thanks again, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.
Be good.
See
Save
ya.
money.